No, you can talk to me. I just have to like try to get this job.
And right, absence last week or do you know how that's gonna work out? I know it's an excuse,
No,
but
I mean, you're fine for now.
okay, I want this like
Word of advice in the future,
okay.
if you're going to do that, don't post it on
Instagram.
Instagram. Because then I'll just never know. And I'd rather just never know. Because like, you know, I really don't care that much, but like, I can't just like really turn a blind eye. If that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, were you able to put me in a committee? Is that still?
Can you talk to me after? I'm so sorry.
No, that's
Today has been like the worst day for me. Please actually talk to me after that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
You know, I don't think that's actually the deep bigger trouble. Like, it looks like somebody, if I get put me on the even beyond.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
I'm just practicing if the audio is working on that.
I know.
I'm radiating, like very creating there's still like there's parts that are I didn't even know I didn't know you're fine, just mark your document. As long as it's agreed.
Hello?
Oh, no. You can get like 20.5. Who's possible? Oh, I got over.
welcome to the Senate meeting, if this will work. For the freshmen, welcome. This is your first meeting with me as the Senate president. Sorry I wasn't here last week. Do we have any motions to start the meeting?
Point of order, you don't have to start.
But we can do.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're starting the meeting. All right, cool. Everyone get your clickers. We're gonna do attendance. Oh. Also, new thing, you probably saw it on the agenda. We are doing attendance at the beginning and end of every meeting. So yeah, don't leave early. Don't be sneaking out the back. I see you guys. If you guys don't know your numbers, just try a number.
Just try a number.
Well, try what you think your number is. I know who's here, so it's fine. Okay, guys, just vote if you could just grab your clicker and find a seat. Cool. Thank you, everyone. And moving down the agenda. We do have some convening business before we talk a little bit more. We do have dining with us, but firstly, we do have a presentation of a survey from the student body by, correct me if I say this wrong, Virachan Pandit, if you're here.
Yeah, close enough.
So if we're gonna welcome him to the front of the room and he's gonna have a quick. The presentation is not in here. You emailed it to me though, right? Give me 10 seconds. Aha. There you go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Virochan Pandit. I'm a sophomore here at Hopkins, and I would like to talk to you all today about expanding vegetarian and vegan options here at Hopkins and why it's important for students. Now, next slide. Now, why am I here? What's the problem? Recently, many students and many of my peers, we have experienced there's a lack of vegetarian options in the dining halls, and we have a few particular concerns that we'd like to address with dining. Some of these concerns are the lack of protein. We feel that there are limited protein options for vegetarian students on a daily basis, so maybe if we get protein 3 to 4 times a week, we don't feel like this is consistent. And there are a couple of things in particular. At FFC Sandwich Bar, there are no protein options, and a couple of times they mentioned that there are a chickpea salad or different things, but when inquired about these options, they are not present. Furthermore, we believe that baked meat is very unpopular, both with vegetarian and non-vegetarian students, and we think that this can be replaced with different alternatives for meeting the needs of vegan and vegetarian students. Some of the other things we had concerns about were at the non-peak times, maybe on Sunday evenings or maybe Thursday afternoon. There are only 3 options for vegetarian students, those being fries, pizza, and salad. We do not believe this is enough to accommodate the needs of vegan and vegetarian students. Furthermore, there are a lack of vegan alternatives at some places. For example, when we did the survey, some of the testimonials mentioned that there were no eggless desserts, and there was a lack of soy milk sometimes. And there are some other problems such as the screens are sometimes not accurate, and sometimes there is cross-contamination, which, according to one student testimonial, led to an allergic reaction. Sorry. So we sent out a survey to many students who are vegetarian and vegan, and we got 73 responses from this community. And here are the results. 89% of students said they were dissatisfied or very dissatisfied with the vegan or vegetarian options at Hopkins. And 80% of students mentioned they leave the dining halls hungry at least 3 times a week. Less than 3% of students say their protein needs are often met. And 75% of students feel that both dining halls could improve equally, those being Hopkins Cafe and Nolan's. And furthermore, what was most striking to me in this whole process was the student testimonials. I can give you maybe half a minute to read these, and I found that these are quite striking. Can you show the testimonials for 10 more seconds? So with those testimonials, I would like to step back and say, why is this important to us? Because I know that vegetarian and vegans are not the majority on campus. So this is important to us because we believe that Hopkins should accommodate for the dietary needs of all students. And for many of us, it's not just a dietary concern, but a religious concern as well. And as you saw those testimonials, the lack of vegan and vegetarian options is affecting the mental, physical, and academic performance of students. And we believe that this is very concerning. Now let's move on to some of the solutions that I proposed from reading many of the testimonials. This is simply to start the conversation with you all. I'm hoping to work with dining to implement some of these. If you have any suggestions, please suggest them. And here are some of the ones that we thought of. So instead of having fake meat, which is often filled because no one is taking it, we believe that we can have one vegetarian or vegan protein section, just maybe one tray for that. And this could have tofu, lentils, beans, hummus, paneer, quinoa. Just consistently have at least one protein option every day. Furthermore, at the sandwich bar at FFC, we believe that maybe a veggie patty or some avocado or sprouts options would enrich the diet of vegetarian and vegans. For vegan alternatives, if it's possible, many vegans would like to see that eggless desserts be implemented to some extent, maybe one every 2 days or one a day. We understand that sustainability and realism, having these be realistic is also very important. And to increase the stock of oat milk and soy milk. Maybe there could also be training to prevent cross-contamination of meat to prevent, and also to prevent allergic reactions, as one student mentioned. And I would also request dining to try to be more consistent on the weekends, because those are the times where there are very few options for vegetarian students. And lastly, many people mentioned that the screens at the dining halls did not accurately reflect what was going on. And many people rely on these screens to understand what allergens or whether the product is vegetarian or vegan. And we believe that these need to be accurate and up to date. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would love to hear suggestions about this, and I hope I can work with dining to make this a reality. Sure.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take any motion on this, but we are immediately followed by our dining presentation. So I think more of our conversation about dining would be best held for after that presentation. But thank you for presenting those survey results. We are going to move on to our dining presentation. So please welcome all of the dining administrators who are here with us today, taking time out of their day to meet with us. But you guys want to come to the front of the room again? Thank you. There is no microphone on it.
Thanks for having us, and thank you for that, for those opening remarks. We really appreciate getting student feedback. It's really important that we understand what's going right, what's going wrong. My name is Matt Moss. I'm the Assistant Vice Provost for Dining and Auxiliary Services. And here with us tonight, we have Chef Tim Bruce, our Executive Chef for campus. Michelle Rooney, our Executive Director of Operations for all of our food and beverage operations across campus. Stephanie Fenke, our Marketing Specialist, and Brianna Williams, our Director of Marketing and Communications. So I'm going to let Brianna take it away, share some of the things that have been happening in dining this year, and then we just like to open up the floor for questions. Happy to answer as many questions as we can. But like I said, we appreciate any feedback that we get. It's one of the things that I think we've had a little bit of a struggle is finding the right way to get feedback from students. So forums like this are really powerful for us to be able to get feedback directly from the student body and actually be able to do something about it. So we're open to any and all suggestions or anything we can do to help. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Just use
There's no microphone, but hi everyone. As Matt said, it does. I think I'm good. You guys can hear me? Ooh, I might. There we go. I didn't know.
I don't know what just happened there. I don't know what happened. It says they're warming up.
There must be a hidden button I didn't know about.
There you go. Talking to them.
There we go.
Oh, it's over there.
Oh,
It'll come up
okay.
in there in a second.
All right, great. Well, sorry for that. Technology is Very interesting. But as Matt said, I'm Brianna Williams. I'm the Director of Marketing for Hopkins Dining. And so what we have today is, number one, we just wanted to go through some of the different changes that we have to our dining program that you may or may not be already aware of for this upcoming year. We have some upcoming events that we wanted to make sure that we shared with you all, so you can then share to your other friends, peers, anyone around campus. And then, of course, we're going to open it up to questions. And so if you have any questions as we go along or any comments, feel free to stop. I feel like I can ramble sometimes, so I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have as we go along here. So to go ahead and get started, the formatting is a bit off there, but
It was a PDF to PowerPoint.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
but we can work with it. And so first and foremost, again, we have some new dining improvements as we move into the new academic year that we're really excited to share with you all. Again, you may already know about some of these changes. First and foremost, dining dollar year-to-year rollover. And so as some of you you already may be aware, if you do plan to enroll in a meal plan for the next academic year, you can keep your dining dollars for the next year. We've had a lot of history of students in the past, as they get to the end of the year, they have tons of dining dollars left over and they have no way to spend them. So they might go to Charmar, buy random things that they don't need, and just try to use those dining dollars. And so definitely, if you're already on a meal plan, and you're planning to enroll in a meal plan next year, be sure to take advantage of that new offering that we have. Next up, as some of you again might already know, Nolan's on 33rd is now open for breakfast starting at 7 a.m. And so especially for those that are, it's okay, I don't need the notes, I can freestyle here. For those of you that do live closer to Nolan's especially, this is a great option for you to now have breakfast a little bit closer to where you're living on campus. Next up, Levering Kitchens is now open for dinner with meal exchange options. And so we've seen some really great response to this from students around Levering, but from 4 to 7, you can now go and use a meal swipe for a meal at that location. And then last but not least, Charles Street Market Meals in a Minute program, they now offer dinner options as well. And so again, we've listened to your feedback, especially over the last year with us transitioning to self-op and thinking of different ways that we can help improve your dining experience. And so these are some of the newer updates that we're really excited to introduce. And just some informational things for you all. And so NutriSlice, if you aren't familiar with the platform, that is the system that powers our digital menu boards and our website menus. And so you can scan this QR code here to go to the website that shows all the daily menus for our locations. It does show any allergen information, ingredients that are any of our menu items. So definitely check that. It is also an app, so you can download that as well if you would like to. And so we can touch more on that as we move to questions, because I know one thing in the previous presentation was about the accuracy of our different menu boards, and so we can come back to that. Also, in addition to NutriSlice, I wanted to take an opportunity to introduce Nourish the Nest, which is our new performance icon. And so when you navigate NutriSlice, you'll notice that we have a lot of different dietary icons next to the menu items to deviate what exactly each menu item has. And so Nourish the Nest is a new platform or program that was developed by our dietitian to help you build a full plate when it comes to eating on campus. And so the concept is that each different tier, you can see the different colors there, represents a different area that should be on your plate when you're eating in the dining halls. And so we'll be rolling out more information on this, but I just want to get you familiar with the new program. And if you have any questions about that, we do have a dietitian, Jacqueline Weiss, who would be happy to answer any questions that you may have about that. All right, so next up, we did want to, of course, plug some of our upcoming events that we have happening in our dining spaces. First and foremost, National Coffee Day is this Friday, and so you can stop by any of our residential locations, so that's Hopkins Cafe, Nolan's, or Peabody, for a pop-up coffee station. We have some fun, different things happening at each of those locations, so be sure to stop by. And then also at Levering Cafe in Charles Street Market, if you do purchase a coffee, you can get a free Hopkins dining tumbler at those locations. And so we'll be sharing some more information on our socials over the next few days, so be sure to follow us and look out for that. Next up, next Thursday, on Thursday, October the 5th, we have local flavors happening. And so local flavors is our monthly initiative where we bring out different vendors or local partners that we work with. So you can, number one, try their products because we do have them all around campus. And then also just learn more about their story and our partnership with the vendor. And so next week, you can sample Supergirl, which offers different soups. Gazpachos, different hot soups. And so stop by Charles Street Market from 11 to 1:30 to sample their soups and to learn more about Supergirl. Next up, a couple more things. On Tuesday, October 10th, we have Hopkins Cooking Series. And so Hopkins Cooking Series is our new event where we feature, hi, how are you? Where we feature a cooking demo by one of our chefs on campus. And so if you are interested in signing up, we'll have more information on the next few slides. But this month for October, we're featuring stuffed peppers. So if you sign up, you will be able to participate in a hands-on demo. We'll have an action station set up where you can learn to make stuffed peppers. And then last but not least, for upcoming events, on Tuesday, October the 17th, we have National Pasta Day. So again, similar to National Coffee Day, in each of our locations, we'll have an action station set up where you can make your own pasta. We'll be doing ravioli. We have pasta. Are any of you guys familiar with like those large cheese wheels where you can like mix the Parmesan wheels? And so we'll be doing that at Hopkins Cafe. And so again, we'll be sharing more information on that as we move forward. And there's just more information on Hopkins Cooking Series. This month's or October's feature will be with our executive catering chef, Pedro Duarte. So if you're interested, you can scan that QR code to register. Spaces are limited, so if you're interested, I would suggest that you sign up sooner rather than later. And there are just some photos from our last month's event where we did Eggs Benedict, so. All right, and so that's all I had. So we'll go ahead and open it up to Q&A. One thing I did want to note as we get into Q&A is that we have a student, a dining advisory board that meets on a monthly basis to discuss dining feedback, any ideas the students have for the dining program. While we did already start, we had our meeting for September, we are still open to any students that are interested in participating. And so that would be a great platform for any of you that have dining feedback, things that you would like to see us do in the program. And so at the end of this presentation, it does have my email. And so if you're interested, you can send us an email and we'd be happy to give you more information on that. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We can either suspend the rules and have some briefing and we'll do like a speakers list for this, or we can motion for a Q&A. Suspend the rules most likely. Anyone want to do this?
Second.
And all those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we're just gonna do a speakers list for this. So just raise your hand if you want to be put on the list and Naz will put you on the screen. So we have Stone and Trigori, and remind me of your name one more time. Vishnu, I'm sorry, you're new this week. And Odd. So go ahead, and Jackson. So Stone, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna do a minute each, by the way. Is that good? Or 2 minutes? We'll do 2 minutes.
I thought we suspended it.
Well, I'm still gonna keep everyone to 2 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, thank you guys for the presentation. And thank you, Dia, for that presentation. Pretty quickly, my friends and I did apply for the dining advisory board, but we never heard a response to that. So not sure about if you can follow up on that.
Yeah, we'll follow up. That's interesting. For the applications that we received, I don't remember seeing your name on the application, and it would have stuck out to me because we've already worked together. So we can look back on that and get back to you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And if you have I can send you an email if you have a list of all the names that applied and maybe you didn't hear back from, that would be great, and we can follow up on that.
Got it. But pretty quick, my actual question was, could dining provide some feedback to Dear's presentation regarding the vegetarian options and how you guys will proceed forward?
Yeah, and so I don't know if I want to pass it over to someone. I can speak to the feedback piece, but I'm gonna hand it over to you.
So I guess as Matt said, we're always welcome to feedback, especially this detailed feedback, I appreciate it. We strive to really do well in that area, and a lot of times we think we are some kind of feedback we wouldn't know. I do think one of the things is to address many of those things. There's some, we look at the menus ourselves, we feel like there's lots of options. But this kind of feedback says we make those options are the correct ones, that's fair. So we'll have to really evaluate. We will, because yes, we are here, so we and so that will be that important. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's not really important.
Thank you.
And I can just add, I think there's some low hanging fruit on there that we can really look to address quickly for you. Certainly we can address things around accuracy of men of neutral size, those are things that we can take care of. We also have a concept, in the two gynecologist and Dolan's and Hopkins Cafe, so we'll just say FFC is not anymore. So I can remind everybody of that. So at Hopkins, we have a route station, which is available, for breakfast and dinner, but, we're obviously not keeping it up, through periods that is, necessary. That is a dedicated station for vegetarian and vegan. So we will certainly take a look at that and see if we can extend those hours, of keeping that available throughout, especially on the weekends. It sounded like it's,
Yeah.
part of the issue.
So be low hanging fruit also do weekends, because that's certainly the menu fix, maybe you can look, take our recipe files and top of the recipe and maybe fix some additional vegetarian with this on the weekend. But I think that's another topic, it's probably about, I'm not gonna say tomorrow, but quickly.
Sure, thank you. So we'll move on to Shigori. And
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. I think one thing that I have been hearing, a lot of students love that Levering now takes meal swipes, but they are noticing that like the portion sizes have decreased, especially in the walk station. Is there a reason why that has occurred? I guess I just like want to inquire about that.
There's been no conscious effort by us to tell them to serve less food. So if you're actually training issues, we maybe they're grabbing the wrong utensils for that station, or not. But yeah, certainly from our end, we have the knowledge that that's why we're going to put some food. Bacon, we have options. We heard that you're doing the bacon, you know, nice, so another thing I'll check into as well.
Thank you.
Can you just clarify for me, are you saying that the portion that you get during like lunch is different than the portion that you get from the inside? Or are you saying that in general, portion size is small?
I think it's in general, like I know, for like the walk, for example, like last year, like the container was just a lot bigger. And then like now it's a much tinier container. And this is like for lunch, this is for dinner, and this is like with like the taco station, like I found like the burritos to be smaller, both for lunch and dinner. So it's like overarching, smaller portion sizes.
We have struggles with the to-go container. Last 2 weeks, they are sustainability model, or this is. So we have a third option now, and we will look at other options that we can go there.
Thank you so much.
Great, Vishnu's next.
Yeah, hey, my name is Vishnu Natu. I really like the presentation. Thank you so much. The first thing I wanted to add on to the vegetarian and vegan presentation, because a lot of students have raised a concern to me that the cafeteria cooks use the same gloves and the same grill for cooking the meatless burgers and the meat burgers. And I know that's an issue for people with religious concerns, as well as the sandwich. And people who like the sandwiches at Hopkins Cafe uses gloves for the sandwiches with meat and without meat. So I think that's something that should be addressed. The second thing,
It's like a that note, it's not really training.
okay,
So we will not do that at all, because I think it is not, that's a consider further out the new black, or use.
thank you. The second thing was a question I wanted to ask. Will the future-sized QR codes be displayed in front of the like at the front of Hopkins Cafe and Noah's?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different options that we're working on. So number one, if you notice, like at each of the stations, there are like those sneeze guards, like those black cover through to the station. So we've looked at doing like you just like QR codes on those sneeze guards so students can have access to see it. Or we've been looking into possibly doing individual QR codes for the dining tables that link to NutriSlice, our websites, different information and things like that. And so we are working through a few different sign options for that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking like if it's at the front, it would be something that people can check out before they actually swipe in. But that was just an idea I had. And the third thing I wanted to ask was about Levering Hall. And I know that you mentioned that you recently got 47 times for levering, for meal swipes, I was wondering if it would be possible to extend that to lunch as well. I know there's a large demand for, bringing levering all, open for meal swipes during lunch. Especially sports seven is kind of like in between, lunch and dinner for some people. And I was wondering if that's like something that you would all consider.
So meal exchange is really driven around one, convenience, and also our ability to be able to manage traffic flow. So right now, levering, we're still currently monitoring what the operational effects are of opening this up during dinner time, right? It's the first time that we've been able to do this, and so taking a look at the current hours of it. You know, one of the things is that at lunchtime, levering is already very strong from a volume standpoint. It only has a maximum capacity that we take into consideration. So sending more traffic into that space during that time may not be feasible, but we're going to take a look as we go through the semester and evaluate what the options are, whether that could be extending the hours of the meal exchange or what the options are as well.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna move on to Adi.
Thank you. Thank you, Veer, for your advocacy for vegetarians and vegans at Hopkins, and thank you to the Hopkins dining team for your presentation. I don't know why I'm saying it. Could Diane please, could you tell us how we can cut down on cross contamination, especially with like religious dietary restrictions and allergies? Like Muslims just cannot eat pork. A lot of Hindus cannot eat beef, and so cross contamination is just something that we really, really want to avoid. I understand that it's self-service in a lot of these cases, like with Hopkins and Hopkins Cafe and Nolan's. But what can dining do to like ensure more regular checks for cross-contamination and to like replace contaminated items and like whatnot? And additionally, the vegetarian option solution proposed by Veer would make a lot of sense. For instance, if like the sandwich bar were to have the bean burger or some other kind of protein available in like the thing so that people can make it. Because like last year, for instance, I did a lot of asking for sandwiches without any protein. And then I would take a bean burger patty from the other counter and disassemble my sandwich and put it in. And so it'd be cool if I didn't have to do that, right? And so I guess a lot of vegetarians on campus would definitely appreciate having some kind of option at the sandwich bar itself. So I just want to stress that. And another thing is late night foods tend to be very snacky. I guess this is by design. But I was wondering if Hopkins Dining could work on like lower fat, higher protein options at late night. I know that a lot of people really appreciate that because they have like classes and meetings all the way to like 9 o'clock, and then your only option is late night. And you go there and it's like just generally not as nutritionally quality as they would want, right? And so we did the plate thing, what is it called? The
Nurse and that.
yeah. So it would be cool if we also had like keto friendly labeling or something like that on foods, just to like help students make dietary choices.
So I guess the first couple of questions would be yes and yes, so they can walk up and get delegate and fill out for the party for the location. Very sure, a lot of options, a lot of you have to do all cross contamination thing. We have supervisors, staff, we have chefs, they're all supposed to be monitoring that, and the staff is definitely trained to do that. We do have basically, we have, because of the schedule in October, that we're gonna have a couple of 4 hours actually training for our staff as well. But it's going to have to check in marginally training, and definitely do that. There's always as far as the keto one, there's nothing we're doing that to them. That's what we do now. We'll get the nutritionists and see how useful that is. Then our benefits, will give us some information to be comfortable saying that this is keto friendly and separate from it.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right, Jack, can you come there?
All right, thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate having you here. First, I was gonna ask, I've seen a lot of times where there's not a whole lot of fruits to choose from during levering dinners, to the point where I've seen students not take a fruit, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a meal swipe, where you get an entire meal. I'd also ask if it would be possible if there would be healthier drinks included in the meal swipe rather than just Pepsi products. was that it seems to be that there's a lot of, it seems to be that prices are quite high compared to other storefronts at Charmar, to the point where it costs more to buy something with tax-free dining dollars than buying something that does have taxes at Streets Market or University Market. Has dining considered running sales or deals at Charmar to make the prices a little bit more competitive?
So I do believe, same to me, I don't know if I fully agree with that, but something maybe driving that a little bit is how much local product we sell. But right now, dining, which is about 32% local, which is about double in this area. And that being said, those local products come at a little bit higher cost, but I think local products is something community based that we all want to do. So that's one answer to that question. I've only been here a month, but I'm pretty sure we probably did market basket before we priced it this year, in which case we worked locally and we have their pricing now. It's a small market you speak of, but they have some other products, there's a lot of stuff that's cheaper, I don't know now. But if you're talking about local products and high-end products that we serve in most of our locations, they do cost a little more.
I guess just as a follow-up with that, the things I was mostly comparing on, I wouldn't have as much of a reference point for the local things. Comparisons could be like a bag of Doritos or a drink or something like that, where there is a reference point to other stores because they also sell it, but they sell it at a price that might be a third, or sorry, 2/3 of the price. So you add on the 6% Maryland sales tax, and it doesn't really add up to the same amount. So it just feels like students are paying a lot more and they're kind of like forced to pay it because they got dining dollars as part of the plan. It doesn't really feel like the appeal of dining dollars. It's almost as if there's an excuse to pay more for something that you know is worth the same amount as it is somewhere else, just because you bought dining dollars or your parents put you on the plan. So I just want it to be that there's maximum utility for our students.
Well, as confirmed by my colleagues, we did do a market basket, so we'll have to look at that and see what the differential is.
Yeah, and I can share a little bit on that. So we're purchasing for a single store, and we are the only store that we have on campus. Places like Streets Market, Walmart, Giant, they're buying nationally, right? Streets Market, even as a regional brand, their purchasing power is significantly different than when you buy for a single store locally. So our purchasing price aligns with where those markups are. We can certainly take a look at it, and we visited over the fall semester and review to make sure that our market basket is in line. But we are a little bit at the mercy of the purchasing power that we have for some of those items.
Thank you.
All right. Just a little heads up. We do have a very full speakers list right now, and we do have a lot on the agenda. So we will not be taking any more additions. Hopefully, you can communicate your question to someone else. But we're just going to go down the rest of the people. So Tim's up next.
Hi, thank you so much for presenting today. That was really informative. I just had a few questions about more so quality control between products at Charmar as well as for Nutrislice. So first off, the other week I bought bread from Charmar, and adding on to Jackson's point, I remember that bread being $5 last semester. This year it has increased to $7.64. So I bought that bread, and I did not see it because it was 11 p.m. But when I looked at the back, the entire thing was filled with mold. I have a picture of it on Teams. I would rather not show it, but it is there. And the next day I went back in and I told them hey, there's a lot of mold. I decided to go vet the rest of the bread, and I found at least 3 other loaves with mold. So I want to know, how are you guys going to make sure that students are safe from contaminants as well as like health concerns of this?
So again, this comes back to training. You guys stock handlers that are in the past with pretty product out, rotating stock. Which dollars are their training? What's out there to get you to visit that? Because that really just happened. But that's really that impact doing their job the way they train to do it. Because we're getting literally to these 3 days a week, if not more than that location. So there's plenty of food coming in correction every day. So we have to go back to the training with something like train up for another or getting one attention.
And the second question I have really quick, as a first year mentor, I was told that Nutrislice would have the resources for people with like vegetarian diets so that they can see what will be on the menu. I told one of my mentees about it. She's gone into Hopkins dining multiple times, and there hasn't been the options that were on Nutrislice. So how updated is the Nutrislice to what's actually being provided? And is there any way that you can make that communication better?
Yeah, so to that point, I will say that generally Nutrislice is accurate, but we do run into issues when it comes to supplies sometimes. So say for instance, we have chicken on the menu for a day and then maybe the chicken didn't come in, right? So then our team has to go in and manually update the screens to reflect whatever that change is. So I will say that generally we do definitely try our best to plan the menus, but those small changes when they happen, it's just a matter of making sure that the team is updating the screens to match whatever is changed, what the menu is changed to be. And so in terms of vegetarian options though, I would love if you could provide more context. So did your friend go in looking for a vegetarian option was it just not on the screen? Was it not flagged correctly? Like I'm trying to figure out where was the disconnect there so we can address it.
Yeah, so from what I remember, my mentee saw that there was a specific mushroom option at the root section. She went in, the screen was different and the food was different. So
Okay.
there are 3 levels of communication that are all different.
Okay, yeah, and so we'll have to look into the best way to address that. Again, a lot of our changes sometimes happen right before a meal period starts in some cases, and so there may be a disconnect there, and so we'll look into how we can better communicate that.
Sometimes during no period, you may sell out. It's like it's sold out or whatever. Again, then you have to then go and put it back up. So 3 levels out there. General. So you sell out, things like that, normally the a lot of that. Use that back out, you go ahead and post that menu so that those icons of the nutrition you want are there.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Daniel, something. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for coming today, and thank you to all the team that works behind the scenes very hard to make this happen as well. So I see how difficult the job can be sometimes. I have 3 suggestions / comments about what's being offered. And the first one was, I would like to see more offerings of nuts like walnuts, almonds, whatever, and more legumes. I think like there's beans and chickpeas, but other than that, I see very little other types of legumes and probably 0 types of nuts, except maybe sunflower seeds. That's one thing I'd like to see more of. And one thing that one of my colleagues also brought up was like healthier late night options. Like I see a lot of pancakes, fried chicken, fries, pizza, but other than the cold salad bar, there's no like warm, healthy, like vegetarian options. I'll go there like once or twice a week and I've rarely seen it. So that would be much appreciated. And then last but not least, more seafood, please. I see that you have a lot of shrimp offering dishes which have shrimp in them. I really love that. I try to get that every time that's being offered, but you know, there's other types of seafood, fish. I haven't seen that in the past month at all. So more seafood would also be much appreciated. Yeah.
I noticed got like salmon,
It doesn't have to be expensive fish either. There's just some type of more variety in seafood would be great. Yeah, and along with healthier late night and nuts and legumes.
So I would just speak to the nut piece, so we are nut free, and that's intentional because the algae cross contamination issue that we try to make sure that nuts are not present. So that's some things that unfortunately we just don't offer because of the live solution that goes with it. It's just not either in a production facility or once you get inside. Yeah, the allergic reaction to nuts can be quite extensive. So in order to do that, we make a commitment to do that.
Okay.
Thanks, Daniel. We
But
got
we can certainly address the language. That's a lot of. Yes.
Thanks, Daniel. We gotta move down on this. We have a lot of people. Ray Sham, you're up next.
Right, so firstly, I just have two suggestions. You talked about a lot of events that dining holds. I would love to see if there was more on-campus advertising of the events, like not just on social media, but like flyers or stuff like that, because I feel like a lot of students would know more about these events and they can engage more. The second suggestion would be on the advisory board. I feel like it would be great if you could reach out to student groups and clubs who have, students with dietary restrictions, like religious groups or identity groups, for example. And it might be nice to, ask them to send one representative, even to one of your meetings, if not to be a part of your advisory board, just to get perspective on, where the disconnect is or what options they're looking for. And then my question over here is just to expand the number of options that are available to students for breakfast. Would you consider having like a 11 breakfast at any point? And the same thing for late night, because there are a lot of, suggestions for late nights, a lot of different things that can be done. Would you consider having like a late night Nolan's option, which is slightly different from FFC and can probably, serve as a better source for other students?
So that was a loaded question. A couple of things I want to touch on really quickly. And so thank you for your feedback about the events. We're definitely looking at different ways that we can get the word out to students. For the advisory board, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a conversation that we've already had with our team of reaching out to individual departments or organizations on campus to have a representative right in this room. And I just want to say that there's so much feedback that we would love to have you on the board. And so again, we can share more information on how you can get involved in that following the meeting. With that, I'll pass it to Matt.
Interesting you bring up breakfast at Levering. We actually had breakfast at Levering last year and there was almost no participation.
Lack of awareness, probably. I didn't know about it. I doubt it.
So we're as we're in our just finished our first year and taking over and converting our operations. We're looking at all the options that are out there and where we can help enhance the student experience. So it's great to hear that there may be a need for that. We've certainly thought about doing late night at Nolan's. We're trying to balance it as to where we have that to get the greatest amount of participation. Because what we see is sometimes that, and some of it may be driven around what's on the menu as to how many people are going. What our participation at late night is okay. But so we're waiting to see what the options could be and where the best place to be late night is.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder, if you're on the speakers list and someone already said your feedback, you can also yield your time. Just FYI. Kaylee, you're up next.
Okay, so I'm gonna go like point by point, so I make sure that we get everything. So first, for Meals in a Minute, on your website, it says that you guys are open from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. for Meals in a Minute, which is just from my experience, not true. And then you guys also mentioned expanding Meals in a Minute to a dinner option. I have heard like 0 things about that personally this year. Maybe it's because I'm a sophomore and I'm not in an FIM group, but I don't know how that works for y'all. And I also would like to pose the question of like, why can't Meals in a Minute just be open for the entire time that Charmar is open? Because there's, to my knowledge, no extra labor that, like besides stocking, goes into preparing that, like there is for the sushi bar or the sandwich station. And I don't really see why that is not a point, especially like if we're talking about expanding the capacity of the university to serve students at longer hours. I kind of see that as a yeah, so that one first.
I also know why I got those for dinner. Why not? So that is your habit. So it should be open.
And it'll be continuous.
Continuous throughout the day, no reason not.
It won't just be at lunch and dinner, it'll be from lunch.
So, and then when will that end? When Charmar closes?
Yeah.
So until midnight.
Yeah, the reason why I was going to settle this price there already. We go additional labor to form the office, like this special labor today, and that's what we're going to go for that. Not only that happens, but it can happen soon.
And then next also on Charmar, I think that a lot of students in this body have brought up that there are prices listed at Charmar, and then maybe the price that has like been charged in the system does not correspond with the price listed. And additionally to that, there are several items at Charmar that do not have a listed price. And for my months, the problem for the whole 2 years that I've been here, and it's been very unclear as to what price you're going to pay for the item that you purchase or attempt to purchase. So I would wonder if you guys would speak to that.
That's definitely something that we work on, been working on it. There's a lot of items in junction markets and pricing all of them is challenging, but we definitely are working towards that, and having price different in the register than on the item is
I haven't heard that, so thank you for that, like, we'll definitely work on that.
You're welcome. And my third point is that Brody Cafe used to have swipes. And the Brody Cafe staff has said to students that they are working on bringing them back, and we would just like to inquire about that. If that's true, if there's any kind of timeline or negotiations to happen with that, or why those swipes went away in the first place.
So Brody did not have swipes previously. So they were not part of the dining program at all. They have recently come under our purview. So if they were accepting swipes, I'm not sure how they were doing that, but we didn't have a register to be able to do it. And it is not something that we're currently considering from what the meal exchange.
Okay. And then
They are taking $90. So that is new this year. It was something that we had heard a lot of feedback across campus to be able to have the access to that. And we were able to do that this year.
and I think I can thank you because as a student body, I think we all appreciate that. And then my last point is more of like a response to like the feedback. I think like I really thank you guys for being here and listening to us, and you've said like we will work on this, we will help change this, we want to make things better. And I just kind of want to ask if you I was gonna ask if the advisory board, but given the fact that they're only advisors, not the people implementing the change, I was wondering if you guys can send out some kind of monthly update, either to us as SGA or to the student body as a whole, to be the most transparent on how you are working on these updates, like with quantified amounts of like what you are changing, how you are changing it, and who's responsible for that change, so that we as a community can know what's going on and also like keep each other accountable in that way. Thank you.
And so I can touch on that a bit. And so I will say, right now, it would be the most beneficial if we can funnel a lot of this feedback and discussion through the advisory board. Having different channels and where we interact with students doesn't necessarily work the best. And so if we can find a way to have a lot of you participate and give updates that way, that would be the best. And again, to your point, that would be the best way to get feedback and give updates, right, on how we can make changes over the next year or so. And so I don't, I will share my email. I'm trying to think of the best way that we can be in contact with all of you, maybe through Jackson, Ryan, or Stone. One of you probably would be the best way. But being able, if you're interested in being in the advisory board, that would be the primary way to get some of this your feedback heard, and then getting updates on what those results are based on your feedback.
Thank you, Haley. We're gonna move on to Brandon.
Hello, yeah, my name is Brandon. I'm actually gonna be working as the dining liaison for student services, so I'm working for you guys in the future. And look out for it now, shine my group. So I had two questions. I had one was about there was an initiative brought up at the dining town hall about working with the Northern Student Association to source more halal food. And I guess some people were reaching out to me telling me there hasn't been much progress on that. So I wanted to kind of know like what kind of feasible steps you guys taking towards that goal, and what plans you have for the future working for it. So I know I think we today about the medical, so we have this meeting. And then I guess my second question was about the board upperclassmen that's to me about this. They wanted to know what we were plans on doing that.
Yes. The amount of times that has come up over the past year has been a lot of times. And so we're excited to share that we are bringing back a Sterling Brunch-esque event that we've rebranded under Hopkins Dining. And so this was actually an idea, I think it was Jackson, when we met last semester, we talked about rebranding Sterling Brunch because we don't know where that name came from. We don't know anything about that. And so he came up with the idea of calling it like Spirit Brunch. I think that's one of the Hopkins colors. And so we're bringing it back under a new name. I'm sorry to put you on the spot there, Jackson, but we love it. And so we're going to be bringing back Spirit Brunch. That will happen once a semester, at the end of the semester, to like end out the year. The idea is that it will be Hopkins themed, so we're going to invite students, come in your Hopkins gear, and it'll still be an elevated brunch. And so our chefs have already been working on the menu, so we're really excited about that. I think we're doing, just to give an idea, like a lox and bagels bar maybe. Of some sort. I don't know the full menu, but we're working on it. prime rib and things like that. So we're excited to bring that back. The first one will be in December on a Saturday, and so more information will be coming about that.
All right, go ahead, no problem.
I didn't mean to chuckle about that. We've heard that Sterling run for a year now. And as Brianna said, we didn't know the correlation. There's no historical significance to it. Again, with opt-in, I think it was something that Bon Appetit did specifically. And, you know, we want to sort of part the ways from where they were. It goes along the lines that, you know, I've said here tonight already, like FFC, that was actually a trademark brand by Airmark, whose two providers ago, Bon Appetit actually had never been allowed to continue with that branding, it did. And so we want to make sure that we sort of excavate ourselves away from the contracted service business. And so we're trying to make sure that we reiterate things that are now traditions we're trying to create with like Blue Jay Bass that happened earlier this year, trying to, you know, build some new traditions that are specifically opt-in. And so trying to get away from that old branding is something we're very conscious of.
Right. Unfortunately, we were done on the speakers list, but last but not least, we do have Tim. Or Tarini, or is it Tarini? Oh, I'm sorry, that looks like Tim. I'm so sorry. I thought you raised your hand to be added, but go ahead, Tarini, I'm sorry about this.
I know that when we pick for meal plans, or well, when we pick for meal plans, we picked it for the entire, and there wasn't a meal plan change period, but that has since passed. Is there any possibility to make the meal plans like semester by semester, or have a meal change period either extended by a few more days, or have it in the spring? Because I know personally, I would like to change my meal plan in the spring. I just don't think I want to be on the same meal plan. I can tell that early in the school year. I just didn't know which meal plan I should be on, so I stuck with the one I have right now, and it's not the best one for me.
That is something that we're considering. We're working through some functionality with a couple of different constituents on campus about the change period specifically, because we recognize that, you know, period of change is very small right when you come on campus. Part of that has to do with student billing and then how we accommodate changes within the billing process. So we're currently reviewing that and hope to be able to, you know, bring some different use.
Cool, thank you. And the second one is about inconsistency in the food based on traffic. I know that that's a little inevitable at times, but specifically with things like chicken or meats, people have noticed sometimes that some chicken is undercooked sometimes or overcooked sometimes, and they've noticed especially during like peak lunchtime or like peak dinner time, which is when the most students are eating the chicken. So is there any like efforts you guys are making to fix that? Any like specific things you want to do?
So obviously, don't want that happening, but that will be going to happen sometime. But I would ask you, you probably have to turn around with it. This information and that. Because the best way to be like that is to I did. That's the we can there, we put it about location, time, locations, our people, correct action for that individual. You know, stuff is up a whole. There are individuals, I need those are so we can sit come on. You would ask you to look for an active look for the shots, you know, regular life and you know, one on that point. Show you a picture of a little bit, you know, after that, but really I've got all of it. Here's the transfer card that actually put that on those that high. It has also one the daily share that was all right where it be the department our experience and a long time.
Not that, supervisors all wear bullet shirts that we all have on today. So if you're not calling a question or concern or anything, you can find someone in a blue polo shirt and they can help you. And as Chef said, we have two chefs also in the residential dining hall, and they're in gray, Chef Dexter, and then Chef Tim and Chef Nick are also out and about in all the dining halls. So we use the right hand full of, I agree with Chef Tim, but we can part into that hall and we can address it.
I know you are, yes, you have to say, we also don't want the next three people to have the experience on cold. Like that, we take that away, if that person actually, you know, that problem, and then, people.
one last question on this last question. I know you said that, you'll be looking into more training to address a lot of the issues that we brought up, but, are there any specific, like, approaches you're thinking of right now in that training to fix these issues?
Yeah, sure. Right, request from our, currently we're working on the training you got from the board. It's about challenge, so I'm gonna do it, and we're all that stuff, but we have a diverse staff, and training up here, anything for 30, 35, 40 years. So my biggest thing, and maybe one of the things that we have to do like that, so that's where our training is focused on, along with pretty all basic, but there are ways for people to get it. Diverse staff, vastly different points, when we have trust each other, I think vastly different times to be extremely.
And I'll also add, we now have a dedicated training supervisor that conducts different training with the staff, and so there's definitely more of a conscious effort to train staff, ongoing training, so.
Well, so I was hearing everything since I know that you could try to be very useful, but we watched out for the old videos.
And I would just reinforce what you said earlier, that, you know, being able, when things aren't going well, or you have a bad experience, bringing it to our attention immediately can really help us take the right corrective action to ensure that, we're not continuing that experience to the next student, or the next guest, as soon as possible. We only know things are going wrong if somebody tells us, or that we see. And so we need your eyes and ears when you're having whether it's a bad customer service experience, whether it's food quality experience, we want them to be able to know about it so that we can actually address the issue and take care of it.
All right, well, thank you so much to Dining. Can we get a round of applause?
I was just going to say really quickly, going back to the board, I'll send an email to Jackson, because I believe you're the one that arranged this presentation today, about how more of you can get involved if you're interested. So be looking for that soon from us.
Jackson, can we get that presentation, please? Which one? Sorry.
Gentlemen,
I also think, I also think moving forward, if you ever want student opinions on dining or anything, we're always open here every week at Tuesdays from 7 to 9. Oh, that's my phone. But just feel free to come or email us if you want or have any surveys for us to disperse to the student body as well. We're a pretty good avenue for that. But thank you so much.
And if there's any questions that come up after this that you'd like to funnel through us, we're happy to take them from you. So we're happy to.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Great. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any motions to reinstate the rules? All those in favor of reinstating the rules, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Now we're going to begin the agenda. Slowly. Hey guys, can we listen up? Yeah, okay. Order. Point of order, you can't do that, you're speaking out of turn. So anyways, anyone have amendments to the agenda? Do you want to table? Do you want to table your thing?
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry about that.
The agenda. Second.
All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, public input. Any members of the public here who have input?
This is just a question, the one who did ask about the board design,
Shrigori.
Oh, me.
yeah.
Yeah, wait, what was the question? Shrigori. SRI.
Thank you.
For your information, are you with the newsletter?
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be useful for you if we had placards? So that you could just read those instead of,
Yeah, probably.
okay, we'll try to have this by next meeting.
Yeah, okay, cool. Any other members of the public have input? Hey guys, listen up. Wait, okay. Anyone other members of the public? I know we have a lot to get through. I want to try to keep it.
Yeah. Go ahead and say something.
Do you want my last name too, or is my first name?
I can get yours from the website.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to reports, we have cabinet reports starting with Ryan.
Hey, I hope y'all are doing well. Everybody's looking nice today. Look, I'm actually wearing a polo that's not facing anyways. We got a few cool updates today. We made lots of like solid strides on the operations side, but you'll hear some of those updates from like in the other updates. Amy wasn't here today, but thank you, Sean, for taking minutes for the first hour, and Jaden, thank you for picking up on the minutes as we go. I'll also give an update for Amy when we get there, but yeah. We did unfortunately have a few resignations this week, mostly for non-systemic reasons. But so our inaugural director of research, Vanessa, did resign. So there is a vice chair of the PRDC, the Policy Research and Development Commission, that seems to be very active and is a promising candidate for the role. So I anticipate maybe having a nomination ready in about a week, but we'll see. We also had a resignation of one of the inaugural co-chairs of publication, so Chris. Currently, we are sticking to one chair for now, or director, sorry, I don't know why I said chair, director. But depending on what the current director, so Caitlin thinks, we'll look into whether or not we should recruit another. This was from early in the year. You may have I think I said this to teams, but Kobe, who was one of our inaugural co-directors of advocacy, did resign earlier in the year. We're currently possibly considering applications depending on how the current director of advocacy, Ireland, feels about that. So possibly an update. You all are aware of the vacancy in the judiciary. We had 8 applications. They closed yesterday at midnight.
One more earlier tonight.
Yeah, so
I think
7 plus. Okay. 8 applications. So I think during this coming week, in consultation with an internal affairs panel, we'll be taking a look at those applications. We did have a senator resign, but Dalhern can update on the process at the moment. And let me see. Sorry, that was like a lot. But we also have a few initiatives going on. This is mostly with Ireland in the advocacy space. So we have emails prepared for inter-school outreach. So this is like the different Hopkins schools have like their own student governments. So like, you know, like we represent like KSAT's inviting undergrads, right? But there are other bodies that represent the other students. So we're reaching out to them. We're also preparing to reach out to other undergraduate like leadership bodies. So this is like they represent like various parts of my campus, like so like MLC, the HOP, SAC, like FSL, those spaces. So those 2 are going out. We did some members of the cabinet today did meet with the new associate vice provost and dean of students, Brittany Brown, Dr. Brittany Brown today. We're trying to see if there's some way we can improve communication and email efficiency with lead and just like the general process. We'll be taking a closer look at that as we go. We generally don't have that many new updates on the CIO email, Daniel's meetings at the Library and Student Center, but we'll keep you updated on teams in terms of next steps. One more thing, we talked briefly about this at like the leadership gathering, which was like the stay away. I don't know what to call it, but it was like a 3-day training in like on the weekend before school started. And I know some of us were able to go, but it wasn't everybody. So we're talking about a potentially like a fall retreat on campus where we can kind of overview some of the like SGA concepts and just like continue our like yeah.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Moving on to Student Body Vice President Jackson.
Yeah, happy Blue Jay Tuesday. I just have a brief update basically on the Board of Trustees resolution. We are moving forward with that, not sending it out necessarily, but we are strategically considering our options to get the most out of it. we will keep you updated. We have not forgotten about it. We are trying our best. You will see something out there. No more update.
No more update?
No more update.
All right, what's Amy's update? Right.
I'm back. So Amy's working on a few things. So one is we're potentially starting applications for an assistant secretary. For those of you who were in the chats, there was quite a bit of panic when Amy wasn't able to come today, like when we were sorting out like the minutes, for example. So that should be helpful. On the attendance side, so for those of you, I think we talked about this briefly last week, but Amy is like kind of in charge of like managing the attendance. So one of the reminders for this week was if you are like a chair, a committee chair, a president of council or anything like that, just please make sure to update your attendance in the attendance sheet like as soon as possible after the meeting. So we can make sure that we keep those up to date. And yeah, that's all.
All right, moving on to student.
What is, Ryan, what does CIO stand for that you mentioned earlier?
Chief Information Officer.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, moving on to student body treasurer Jenny.
And also if there's any boards that reach out to you about when they feel comfortable or do you consult with it or have made use the files anything or maybe mention all of it. Since sometimes when you squeeze on the bills that you just can't find and they don't really follow the stat guidelines, and that kind of waste time very much to be done for us to discuss and so just to like streamline the process of making it content for everybody, just please reach out to Diane, reach out to me.
All right, moving on to the chair of programming, Shalala.
Hello, everyone. So updates are going to be scheduled for 7 a.m. Hopefully we get the sign up sheet out in the field. We are also taking as friends having a restriction of time on the weekend that for everyone. So we're going to work on so please send out. So we gotta and yeah, I'm still also working on the senators, so something ideas of how I didn't actually something else. And to also reiterate one thing you said, I find it that really collaboration with one. Please have a meeting with like now for you and the weekend also plan for the as well.
All right, thank you, Shalala. Moving on to the director of communications, Milton.
Hello, everyone. The communications around for the same event last Saturday, marketing plans for this week, and so that I don't know. And I was supposed to be running to prepare his student alumni initiative survey that we will find out to send out tomorrow to a campus-wide email and social media posts. So those are some things that
All right, thanks, Milton. Moving on to myself. So hi, everyone. Welcome, first year students. I look forward to meeting you guys. Please come up to me after the GBM. I'll just talk with you guys like one-on-one about some things that I need to update you guys on. But in terms of other things I've been doing, if you're a committee or a caucus chair, please check the teams. In our like press release channel, I did send a when to me for one-on-ones. I've had like 3 of them already. So thank you for those who filled it out. If I haven't reached out to you about a one-on-one yet, I'm trying to schedule like 12 of them. So please bear with me. It's going to take me a little while. But just it's not anything, it's just like 15 minutes long over Zoom, just talking about like your goals for your committee or caucus. Also a reminder to all committee and caucus chairs, please put your meeting times in the Google Calendar. Reminder, caucuses should meet at least once a month. Committees should meet weekly or bi-weekly, depending on the committee. So just please do that so we can all be in the loop about when things are happening. I was in the meeting with Dr. Brown as well. There's a lot of other updates from that, but they will probably come in later agenda items. So I don't feel the need to update those. I don't think I have any other updates. I think that's all. Moving on to Charles.
Hi, everyone. I don't have a lot of updates, but just want to thank y'all for all the hard work y'all doing. I hope you guys got a lot out of that dining presentation and some of the presentations that I had with the past couple of weeks.
All right, thank you, Charles. So, non-legislative business, we do have a couple things. So firstly, this is more of just like a letting you guys know. We actually don't really need to do any kind of like confirmations for these really. But these are our first year committee placements. So if you're a committee chair, I did already update it in the sheets, but based on their like document, it's also linked on this like the title if you want to look at the committees. But these are all of the committee placements. So we're just gonna go through it really quick. Just like FYI, if you have any issues with the meeting times for people who are recently placed in these committees, please let me know as soon as possible. Because we really want to like stop from like switching them around because it makes attendance a nightmare. But moving on, so CSO is getting 4 new members. So 4 of the 5 new senators are on CSO. You also all demonstrate a lot of interest to that. So please reach out to Shruti regarding your attendance in the CSO meetings. They are Saturday evenings. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Committee on Finance is getting 1 new member, Jaden. Health HSS is getting Arihant and no new members on IA, unfortunately. Academic Affairs, Johnson, Tron, and Tarini are joining that committee, and Student Services is getting Vishnu and Jaden. Civic Engagement is getting Omatara and Jaden. And that is all. Just letting you guys know, please let me know ASAP about the committees. Hopefully you guys like your placement. I'm sorry if I didn't get like your first 3. I had to fill in the space where I did. I hope I got at least like one of your top 2, I think, for most of you. So just sorry about that. It's all I could do. Okay, moving down the agenda, we do have the mental health resources discussion, led by Jackson, Oluwakemi, and Jenny. So please welcome them.
I also just wanted to say thank you guys for asking great questions of dining. This is the best way that you have to hold people accountable. So if you have a department that is very positive about what they do, etc., but you don't always see that, then it's a good thing to communicate to them because that's the power that you have to ask. Anyways.
Hey everybody. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to start a conversation about mental health because I think that we can all recognize that the status of mental health on campus is not great. You know, just across the board, really. And yeah, we've done some like investigation into like what our resources are. We were thinking that maybe we don't have enough resources, but turns out that there are a lot of diverse resources that we have access to. So I just want to see, like, I wanted to open up a discussion so that we can try to see where the disconnect is between the resources that Hopkins has and then like how comfortable students feel about reaching out, or if there are other things that we could do to better accommodate for students, because I know that this is a big issue. Plenty of students will admit to you that they're having issues with their mental health, but actually going and doing something to help themselves is really difficult. And so, yeah, we just want to make that easier. And I wanted to open the floor for a discussion with a speakers list. Yeah, so I want any suggestions that you guys have. Yeah, so raise your hands if you'd like.
Can we hear a motion?
Yeah, do we have any motion for anything?
Moderated caucus?
10-minute moderated caucus with 2-minute speaking times.
All those in favor of a 10-minute moderated caucus with 2-minute speaking times, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, raise your hand if you want to be on the list. So Haley, Cynthia, Mufasa, Rachel.
I'm just gonna go and take time. So I think the one thing that I think about is that with regards to the counseling center, the hours that they're open that are not really conducive to like students using them.
Point of order, you don't mention hours, but.
Yeah, can you give us the hours?
Yeah.
Oh, they are open from 8:30 to 5, which like for a lot of students is like you have class meeting.
And is that just weekdays or weekends as well?
There's they're closed on the weekends. They have an on-call counselor, but that's obviously very different than regular counseling services. So they're open 8:30 to 5 on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and Friday, and 1 to 5 on Wednesday. Also, the structure of the counseling center is that it's all for like short-term problems, and it's not like actually to work out really like the root causes, quote unquote, of students' mental health. It's to help aid like in a crisis situation, but it doesn't actually fix the problem. And there's also varying student experiences on like my upperclassmen friends who are in counseling, like maybe because their counselor will let them have been in it for a long time, but other counselors, especially recently, I have my friends that get kicked out of the counseling center because after like 6 months, and obviously that's like not a great thing, especially for students whose parents maybe don't want them to undergo therapy or like cultural issues with like mental health.
10 seconds.
And also I think like it's only their capacity is only for a bi-weekly basis, and like from like a psychological therapy standpoint, it's like well proven that weekly therapy is much more effective. And I think all in all, like the counseling center is understaffed and underfunded. Their LGS coordinator just got like just left in those place of like.
All right. Thank you, Haley. Moving on to Cynthia.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's definitely understaffed. I know they just had a week, not only during the summer, but also like within the past week. And I think also like for specifically, like I know, for example, for the Lions community, there's only 2 counselors that really relate to that area. So I think it would help to have more counselors like that are able to speak specifically to the experiences of different minorities here on campus. I know when you're first getting started, they make you have a meeting the same day that you call in order to get started, which is sometimes like it'll hinder students because they don't know that. So when they call and then they're like, well, if you can't do it today, then you're gonna have to call us back. It can be a little bit intimidating for students. When it also comes to psychiatric services, I think they're also very short staffed with that.
What information?
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
All right, next is Mufasa.
Yeah, I would actually like to address that kind of directly because a lot of the things that I was my roommate is someone who works at the so a lot of the teams had a lot of people end up coming in a lot late at night. I'm telling you because they're not supposed to be like handling all that information. A lot of like he doesn't say anything, but the fact that it's like he's getting a lot of the stress or like receiving all the stress. They're having to like talk to another student, and he can't afford to talk to like adult or an actual counselor about this. And not being aware of it.
There is a behavioral health crisis team, which did come in this spring, which is available 24/7, and they recently just extended to all the hospitals, including the floor. So I think that's something that we can also advertise more. It's like it's the middle of the night and you're having a crisis. That's a resource that is available and they are trained to think of those types of situations. So I don't know if there's, I'm sure it could be also there.
All right, you have 15 seconds left.
Oh, thank you.
You just have anything.
Wait, am I allowed to?
You have 15 seconds.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So I see that you guys are talking a lot about like in-person services, but I feel like most of the services offered by Hopkins are online or like on the phone. And I wanted to see like, has anybody have you heard any feedback about that?
All right, so Rachel's up next. I don't know if you have anything about that. Rachel, yeah, go ahead. You're up.
And also, there's a lot of people like how I see more to make sure a lot
All right, moving on to Rayshawn.
Oh, right. So firstly, addressing Jenny's point, I've actually used the virtual service that you're talking about from Timely MD, and I feel like it's effective, but it depends on who you're talking to. It's easy to get appointments though, which I feel like is why a lot of people kind of opt for it. But again, I feel like it's very subjective depending on who you get an appointment with and like what your issues are, I guess. Now again, thank you so much for firstly having this conversation. The way I like to think about this, and I've thought about this a lot but haven't been able to do anything, is that maybe it might be a good idea to categorize what resource is like we are considering here and what their problems are. Like, do the students not know that this resource exists and that's why they are not using it? Or do the students know about it and they're still not using it because the needs are not met, or the hours are weird, or the staffing is weird, something like that? Or the resource itself does not exist and students have a problem, they need a resource for that. So I feel like having that kind of a category-wise division and looking at how we can address those demands or how we can, fulfill the needs in all of those categories could be a good idea. In case the resource doesn't exist, do we feel like there's a need for it and it still doesn't exist, or like there's no need for it, or there is a need but the supply is low and the demand is high, or the money matters are not matching up with the need, something like that. So I feel like just investigating why things are not right might be a good next step, because there are a lot of resources and I don't know how well they're utilized, I guess. Whatever.
All right. Thanks, Rayshawn. Moving on to Daniel.
I think I can talk and on about like the counseling center. I think they do a lot of things right, and there's some things that they don't get right. But I want to talk about mental health more holistically. I think there's a lot of programs that need more advertising. Like there's